Updating our breaking news now, the unprecedented demonstrations erupting in Egypt, protesters in the streets chanting in defiance of a curfew imposed in the last hour. At one location, protesters surrounded a tank deployed on the streets of Cairo. Also today, demonstrations spread to other cities, including Alexandria and Suez. The anti-government demonstrators are calling for President Hosni Mubarak to step down. We are still waiting to hear from President Mubarak, who was expected to speak about an hour ago. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called for protesters to express themselves peacefully and for the Egyptian government to allow peaceful protests and restore communication. But Hala, it doesn't appear to be happening.
It does not appear to be happening. In all my years reporting out of Egypt, I didn't think I would ever see scenes like this unfold on the streets of Cairo, with demonstrators and protesters, A, defying a curfew, B, encircling an armored personnel carrier of the Egyptian military as it descends onto the streets of the Egyptian capital in the significant time of change. We are really witnessing history, and the question is, will this fizzle out? And if it doesn't fizzle out, what does it mean for the aging 82-year-old autocratic leader of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak? And you mentioned we've been expecting him to speak for the last hour on state TV.
It makes you wonder why the delay. I mean, I'm very curious about that. Nick Robertson, I believe, is with us right now. Nick, do you know the answer to that? Where is Hosni Mubarak?
That's what everyone's asking, and there appear to be no answers. Here in downtown Alexandria, where a police station was set on fire a little while ago, government buildings were set on fire. The situation feels a little calmer. There's absolutely no police presence, no military presence in the center of the city. There's absolutely no one observing the curfew. Young couples are walking around, groups of men.
Nick, we got to let you go for 2 seconds and get to Hillary Clinton, who's taking questions about the situation in Egypt.
President Obama said yesterday very clearly, and as I said in Doha, it is absolutely vital for Egypt to embrace reform, to ensure not just its long-term stability, but also the progress and prosperity that its people richly deserve. Now, Egypt has been a strong partner of the United States on a range of regional and strategic interests. And as a partner, we believe strongly and have expressed this consistently that the Egyptian government needs to engage with the Egyptian people in implementing needed political, economic, and social reforms. We have consistently raised this with the Egyptian government over many years. We also have raised it with other governments in the region. And there is a constant concern about the need for greater openness, greater participation on the part of the people, particularly young people, which is something I was, very clear about in Doha. And we want to continue to partner with the Egyptian government and the Egyptian people. Now, what will eventually happen in Egypt is up to Egyptians. But it is important for us to make very clear that as a partner of Egypt, we are urging that there be a restraint on the part of the security forces. There not be a rush to impose very strict measures that would be violent, and that there be a dialogue between the government and the people of Egypt. At the same time, we also would urge the protesters to engage in peaceful protest, which they have every right to do, and the deep grievances that they are raising deserve to be addressed. But the real question we're focused on is how can we support a better future for the people of Egypt that responds to their aspirations. And as I've said before, and as the president has also said, the Egyptian government has a real opportunity in the face of this very clear demonstration of opposition to begin a process that will truly respond to the aspirations of the people of Egypt. We think that moment needs to be seized, and we are hoping that it is.
Secretary, two points. The first one is...
All right, there, we're going to leave it there. The Secretary of State Hillary Clinton saying that the government should begin a process of dialogue with its own people. Earlier saying she called on the Egyptian government to refrain from violence, and protesters should also refrain from violence and express themselves peacefully, not taking sides there by the U.S. Secretary of State, as we mentioned, Carol, so many times. A crucial ally for the United States in Hosni Mubarak, a wait-and-see approach, it seems.
Yes, we want to talk to Jamie Rubin again. He's the executive editor of Bloomberg View. He's also a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State. Jamie, something Hillary Clinton just said. She said eventually what will happen to the Egyptians is up to the Egyptians. There was a clue there about how America might react to this.
Well, yes, I think she was in many ways stating the obvious, that the real question that all of us are wondering about is in the coming days, if these people continue to maintain these protests on the street, will the Egyptian security forces in a large mass shoot on their own people? And that is the pivot point for any major revolution of this kind. Will the security forces do the kind of ruthless measures that the Iranian government took last spring, when the people were on the street? And so far, it's a mixed bag. Right now, you hear some reports that the security forces are avoiding violence and evacuating certain areas, and in other cases, they are obviously shooting to regain their police stations that Ben Wiedemann was talking about. So that fundamental question is what will determine the outcome in Egypt, and it will be Egyptians who make that decision, Egyptian security forces. Now, interestingly, President Mubarak comes from the Egyptian military. His support comes from the military. That's different than was the case in Tunisia, where the Tunisian military was an independent institution and in the end played the crucial role in preventing the police and the security forces of the Tunisian president from cracking down and stopping those protests. So the answer to what will happen is in Egyptian hands, as Secretary Clinton said, and it will be in the hands really of the security forces, because it appears to me at least that the people on the ground are determined to stay in the streets, violate a curfew, take all the measures they can think of to regain the rights or to gain the rights that they are demanding of representative government, democratic values, and the end of this autocratic rule that's been in place for decades.
Jamie, stick around. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back.